today we are going to learn architecture of Linux. Okay, in last lecture you learned history of Linux and what is a Linux. Now you understand what is a Linux. Linux is an operating system which used for multi-user, multi-processes and multitasking. Okay, this is the Linux operating system. Now we are going to learn architecture of Linux. Okay, now you can see in the diagram there are 4 levels of Linux system. Okay, first is a hardware, second kernel, third shell, and fourth application, compilers, and the some commands which we are going to learn in Linux. And who are going to use this architecture? The user is going to learn the architecture. There are user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4. Okay, these users means we are going to use the particular applications. Okay, now what is a hardware? Okay, everyone know what is a hardware. Hardware is a peripheral devices, okay, which we are going to use as a machine. Okay, now next level will be a kernel. Okay, now what is a kernel? Kernel is the core of the Linux based operating system. Okay, it is a core of Linux. Now it visualizes the common hardware resources of the computer to provide each process with its virtual resources. This makes the process seem as if it is the sole process running on the machine. Okay, the kernel is also responsible for preventing and mitigating conflicts between different processes. Okay, the Linux kernel is the main component of Linux operating system and is the core interface between a computer hardware and its processes. It communicates between the two, managing resources of efficiently as possible. Understood? The kernel is so named because, like a seed inside a hard shell, it exists within the OS or operating system and controls all the major functions of the hardware, whether it's a phone, laptop, server, or any other kind of computer. Okay, understood? What is a kernel? Kernel is the major function which controls the hardware, whether it's your phone, laptop, server, or any other kind of computer. Okay, now next level is a shell. Okay, what is a shell? Shell is the interface which takes input from a user and sends instructions to the kernel. Also takes the output from the kernel and sends the result back to the output shell. Okay, understood? Shell is the interface which takes input from users and send instructions to the kernel. Also takes output from the kernel and send the result back to output shell. Okay, in other words, shell is a program that takes commands from the keyboard and gives them to the operating system to perform. Understood? In other words, shell is a program that takes commands from the keyboard and gives them to the operating system to perform. Okay, shell is an environment in which we can run our commands, program, and shell script. Okay, which we are going to learn in next unit. Okay, now next level will be applications. Applications, these are the utility programs which runs on a shell. Okay, this can be any application like your web browser, media player, text editor, etc. Okay, compiler, which it compiles the code, and these commands we are going to learn command on a command prompts. Okay, and we will get a particular output. Okay, and utilities, system utility programs are responsible to do specialized individual level tasks. Okay, what is a utilities? Utilities is a particular programs which we are using or particular software which we are using, and it is responsible for do particular compilation of or particular get output from the particular task. Okay, this is the architecture of Linux.